We track the ultimate primitive monster through the dark using trail cams, DNA collection kits, and military-grade night vision. We live in an era where satellites have mapped virtually every square inch of the planet, yet this towering 7-foot ape somehow slips right through the cracks of our global surveillance. After more than 65 years of intense, well-funded expeditions, we have absolutely nothing to show for it. There are no bones, no bodies, and no confirmed DNA specimens sitting in any museum. So why does an entire army of researchers spend their weekends hunting a creature that the biological record dictates cannot exist? To figure out why we can't stop looking, we have to go back to the exact moment the modern hunt began. The modern hunt traces its origins to the logging roads of Humboldt County, California, during the timber boom of the late 1950s. A local journalist named Andrew Genzoli published a tongue-in-cheek column about loggers discovering massive footprints in the mud near Bluff Creek. He meant it as a Sunday morning joke, but the story was immediately picked up by wire services and printed nationwide. There was a major investigative flaw in those early reports. Many of the original Bluff Creek tracks were completely fabricated. A local man named Ray Wallace carved giant wooden feet and stomped around the muddy work sites as a practical joke. The public ignored the reality of the hoax. Men's adventure magazines and cheap paperback novels grabbed the concept of a savage missing link and ran with it, creating a heavily localized monster craze that eventually paved the way for the famous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film. The foundation of the modern search is built on a documented crank. When a myth survives its own debunking, we have to ask why it remains so unkillable. Looking at the hard biological reality, the scientific consensus definitively rules out the existence of an undiscovered giant ape in North America. This map tracks the data of human migration out of Africa over millennia. It shows that primates, specifically humans, only crossed into the Americas around 16,000 years ago. There is no older evolutionary lineage of apes here that Bigfoot could descend from. Furthermore, looking at this visualization of a sustainable gene pool, a single animal cannot survive in isolation. To avoid extinction, any species requires a population of at least several hundred individuals. You cannot hide hundreds of heavy-footed giant primates in the forests of the United States and Canada for centuries. Eventually, a logger, a hiker, or a hunter would stumble across a corpse or a skeleton. With the biological record and the historical evidence both pointing away from a physical animal, we have to look elsewhere for an explanation. If there is no monster in the woods, we need to understand what the legend is actually doing for us. Those 1950s loggers didn't invent the concept of a wild man in the woods. They simply appropriated and renamed it. Legends of a towering, hairy figure predate European contact by hundreds of years. The name Sasquatch comes from the Halk-Emelem language of the Stus Ales First Nation in British Columbia. Their word is Sasquatch, but they never viewed this figure as a biological ape waiting to be captured or shot. Across numerous Native American oral traditions, these figures are described as shapeshifters, spiritual guides, and caretakers of the land. They are respected beings meant to teach humans how to interact properly with the natural world. The original inhabitants of the Pacific Northwest understood the deep woods through reverence. Modern cultures stripped away that spiritual connection and replaced it with a physical monster we could chase through the mud. To understand why we still chase it today, historian Joshua Blue-Boos suggests we have to look at what the monster provides for the people who believe in him. In the 1950s, post-war industrialization was rapidly paving over the American wilderness. For the working-class men who popularized the sightings, Bigfoot became a way to hold on to the fantasy of an untamed frontier that was disappearing right in front of them. Today's Bigfoot hunters are driven by that exact same anxiety. In a reality defined by glowing screens, GPS tracking, and constant digital connectivity, the forest represents one of our final escapes from a fully mapped existence. The lack of bones or DNA doesn't diminish the legend. Whether a flesh-and-blood animal actually walks through the Pacific Northwest is completely irrelevant to its cultural power. Bigfoot is a mirror reflecting our own psychology. He is a manufactured myth, entirely sustained by a society that simply cannot tolerate a world without mystery. We keep looking for him because humanity cannot survive without the belief that the world is still wild.